And that is how I would teach a... Hey everyone, it's Susan Jones and welcome back to my Sunday Spotlight. Today I am excited to share with you exactly how I would teach a week's worth of direct phonics instruction. I actually went ahead and wrote a blog post about this a few years ago when I was a K-2 literacy teacher. The reading specialist and I would get together at the beginning of the year. We did a ton of assessments, but that way we could go ahead and group our K-2 students that we were going to be meeting with. And not only did we group them by their reading levels, because we did a lot of guided reading pull out with them, but we also went ahead and used the quick phonics screener. I'll insert a picture of that here. And we used that to go ahead and place those students in phonics groups as well. It was really helpful to see that sometimes their understanding of these stories and their guided reading levels were either higher or lower, I guess you could say higher or lower, than where they fell on a phonics screening assessment. And this was, just to clarify, it was only about decoding different phonics patterns. So it worked through short vowels, digraphs, consonant blends, so on and so forth through a progression, and you could really see where groups of students might be getting stuck. This allowed us to easily pull those groups of students and work specifically with the phonics patterns that they were getting stuck on, so that way we could teach them to decode those words quickly when they reached them in their own text they were reading. And before I walk you through exactly how I would do this, I do want to clarify that when I taught first grade, I always had a 15 to 20 minute phonics block that was set aside specifically for this direct instruction. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you how we would pick one phonics skill for the week and just the different ways we would teach students to decode that word and the phonemic awareness we might work on with those skills, things like that, all with the same skill from day 1 through day 5. So let's dive in. Just so we have a concrete example, throughout this video I will use beginning S consonant blends as the example, but basically each week I would have, when I taught first grade, I had an entire scope and sequence that I would work through, starting with short vowels and CVC words, all the way through diphthongs and other, longer patterns towards the end of the year. And each week we would pick just one skill to focus on. So for this example, we will go ahead and do beginning S consonant blends. Day 1, I would have all my first grade students meet up on the rug, and this is where I am just directly explaining what this phonics pattern means. So in this example, it is a consonant blend. I would explain how it's 2 consonants and we blend the sounds together, but we can still hear both sounds explicitly. So if it is ST, we can hear st. We hear both of those sounds. And I actually teach consonant blends after I teach digraphs. So I would explain how a digraph, you only get one new sound, and so I would just explain that difference as well. When I'm showing this to my students, I follow the same type of technique when I'm showing them how to blend and decode these words. I will insert a little video of me showing you how I do this, and this is exactly how I would do it with the whole class or with my small group when I was the literacy teacher. Sound, s, sound, l, blend, sl, a, p, sl, ap, slap. New ending, ip, blend, sl, ip, slip. New ending, I'd, blend, sl, I'd, slide. Slap, slip, slide. So as you see in the video, I really have my students get that blend in their mouth first. That way they are able to have it there. They are ready to then go ahead and add different ends of the words on to be able to read and decode different words. We spend the most time doing this and practicing reading different S-blend words on day 1, but each day as we progress throughout the week, we will still begin with a little of this just explicit blending practice, once or twice, 3 times maybe, as they continue throughout the week. After about 10 or so minutes of that, then I let students go ahead and practice manipulating these blends and sounds on their own. And to do this, you can do this a few different ways. Sometimes you can just go ahead and take some mini whiteboards and markers, have students either stay on the rug or go back to their seats, and you can go ahead and give them some words to practice blending. So you could say SW, have them write that down, have everybody make the sound together, and then go ahead and put, say, add ING. They'll add it to their whiteboard, they will go ahead and decode it, and then we'll say it out loud together. That's one way you could do it. Personally, I really like, if you can, to have letter cards or phonics cards where students with a partner or in a small group can go ahead and manipulate those by themselves. If you are having to work on S blends, I will go ahead and link some of these free ones for you that you can see right here. I've mentioned this in the past before, but I almost always have a little blank PowerPoint flashcard file up on my computer, so that way I can very quickly, whenever I need to, just type in whatever skill we're working on. So I would keep one of these up every single week for phonics, so I could print out a few copies, have students really cut out those letter cards, store them in a baggie, and practice blending and making different words. And again, based on the skill that you are teaching, your cards will look different. These ones all have S blends at the beginning and different endings that they can add to try to make real words. So that's day one, just an introduction to the skill that they're working on and a little kind of hands-on decoding practice. Day two, I really want them to take their learning a little further, and I want them to be able to decode those graphemes in a text. Again, there are many different ways you can do this in your classroom, but day two should be focused on them reading not just the individual word, but those words in longer sentences. You can do that with sentence strips in a pocket chart. I always like to use my phonics poems. I created them specifically for this, and they have all the skills I work on throughout the year. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert some pictures. Mine, like I said, are from the phonics poems. You can find little stories, you can make up your own sentences. However you wanna do that is up to you. But today, after we go ahead and review, like we did yesterday, the actual blend at the beginning and then the word, have them practice a few together, students will go back to their seats and we will go ahead and dive into our text. Whatever text you have them use, first I have them sit with it silently for at least a minute or two, have them kind of look it over, try to decode any words they can, and I always let them know that they're looking for the specific skill words in that poem or that text every single week. So they're looking there and they're first just trying to go ahead and skim the lines and try to really identify those words that begin with S blends. Then we echo read the poem. That means I'm going to go ahead and I will actually read it line by line as they echo read, and they just repeat it after me. This way they can hear how the text is supposed to sound. They can echo it before trying it themselves. After they echo read it with me line by line, I go ahead and have them partner read it, and I will usually have them switch off. Partner A will start first, they'll read the first line, partner B reads the second line, they read it all the way through, and then they switch. So partner B will start with that one. After they partner read, they go ahead and read it through themselves, and this is when they will actually go ahead and circle all the S blend words they found in that poem. Before this is over, we will go ahead and read all the words we found together to make sure we all circled the same words and found all the S blends in that poem or story. Since every week we're working on a new pattern throughout the year, we actually keep these poems and we keep them in a poetry folder. I love to add these to our Readers Workshop bins. That way, if there's ever independent reading time, students have heard these poems before, they've read them at least twice during the week, as you'll see, because we'll do it tomorrow as well, and they get to just keep them throughout the year and they become pretty fluent with them. Depending on how long this took with the poem, I will also have a visualization sheet that they can go ahead, they read the poem on their own, and they can start drawing what they visualized in their head on their sheet as well. That is an optional step. It is not something I do every week. It really just kind of depends on how the day goes and how much time we have left. All right, day three is where we go ahead and again, we will always start with blending that word. I will explain what a consonant blend is. We'll practice a couple together, just so we all got it. Repetition every single day. Day two, we decoded graphemes in a text. Day three, we're going to practice nonsense word fluency. And before we go into that, whatever poem or text you used yesterday, even if it was just sentences, I have students reread that a few times first, just so they can again practice that fluency and practice decoding the words that were already in there that have S blends. Each poem that comes in my poetry pack has a little nonsense word grid. I'll insert a picture, and this is where students will go ahead after they've read through that poem a few times and they will have to read each word in the box, and they all start with an S blend, and they have to decide whether it is a real word or a nonsense word. And they'll go ahead and color in all the boxes that have real words. If you aren't using these poems, you can still go ahead and practice nonsense word fluency by maybe writing a bunch of different words with S blends on the board, some real, some nonsense. Have students come up, try to circle the real words. Today is just a day where you really want students decoding some alien or nonsense words just to see how they are able to do this fluently when they come across words in their text. If you don't happen to be using my phonics poems, you still want your students on day 3 to practice nonsense versus real words. You can do this by writing a ton of words on the board and asking students to come up and circle the real ones. You could do a nonsense or a real word hunt and tape up index cards around your classroom and have students try to collect or find all the real words, anything like that. And days 4 and 5 of your direct phonics instruction are all about games, which means practice, practice, practice. I always use my print and play phonics games because for many different reasons. I mean, again, I created them specifically for this outline that I do throughout the week, and almost every single one of them aligns with my phonics poems. So it's just easy for me, so that's what I'm going to show you some examples of. And this first one is roll and cover. And here with each game in my print and play phonics units, I like to have them practicing different skills with that phonics pattern. So here in roll and cover, they're not actually reading or decoding any words with S blends, but instead they're looking at the images and they're trying to use their phonemic awareness to isolate that blend they hear at the beginning of the word. Then with roll, complete, and color, or with this other one, blend, read, and race, students will actually go ahead and see the word visually without the S blend, and they will have to determine what S blend goes there. So they're using their phoneme manipulation to make some real words, and again, using that skill in a different way than we have in the previous days. If you don't own this unit, there are plenty of games you can play. You can have those little wooden dice and you can make your own dice where students are maybe rolling words and trying to blend them together. You could go ahead and play memory would be a good one, where students, you could print out some pictures of S blend words and different index cards that maybe have that S blend, and they have to try to make some matches. But again, you're practicing the S blend skill in many different ways. I know Lakeshore and Educational Insights and some other educational stores have some great phonics games that you could also use. I will try to link some of those below, along with everything else I talked about in this video. And that is how I would go ahead and teach a week's worth of direct phonics instruction. Like I said, when I was teaching first grade, we would go ahead and pick a different skill to work on every single week, and I would follow that same pattern. I loved it because it was easy to prep and get the ideas and activities ready, and the kids loved it because they knew what to expect. When I was a literacy teacher, I would go ahead and follow the same type of pattern. I just wouldn't necessarily meet with the same kids every single day. So it might have been Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the following Monday and Wednesday that we would work on the same skill, but it would follow that same pattern as well. I hope you found this video helpful and you could find some ideas for teaching phonics in your classroom. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. But as always, if you like this video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up so I know, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new week's video. See you next Sunday. Bye.